In 1940, looking to follow up his magnum opus, Gone with the Wind, Uber producer David O. Selznick snapped up the rights to Daphne du Maurier's best-selling novel, Rebecca. Enlisting the service of a British director you may have heard of, O. Selznick and the late great Alfred Hitchcock constructed a creepy Gothic drama that won the director, amazingly, his only Best Film Oscar. Hi, I'm Stephen at Real Classic Film Reviews and welcome to the first video in the Alfred Hitchcock series. In this series, we'll be discussing Hitchcock's output from 1940, starting here with Rebecca, up to 1976 with his final film, Frenzy. These are Hitchcock's American years. He'd already made dozens of films in the UK throughout the 20s and 30s, but here he would solidify his title as the master of suspense. The film kicks off in Monte Carlo with a young Joan Fontaine, whose character I don't think is ever actually given a name in the movie, playing a paid companion to an unpleasantly boisterous high society woman. It's here she ends up bumping into Sir Laurence Olivier's character, Maxim de Winter, who appears to be depressed and on the brink of suicide. Anyway, the pair have a couple of secret social dates behind Fontaine's employer's back, and before you can say shotgun wedding, the pair of them are married. Returning home to her new husband's giant stately home, Manderley house, the shy Fontaine finds herself intimidated by her new lavish surroundings, complete with an army of new servants, and particularly the head maid, Mrs. Danvers, creepily played by Judith Anderson. Also, eventually, her new husband's odd, erratic behaviour begins to surface.
You knew I didn't want you to go there, but you deliberately went.
Why not? There was only a cottage down there and a strange man who was...
You didn't go into the cottage, did you?
Yes, the door
Well,
was...
don't go there again, do you hear?
Why not?
Because I hate the place, and if you had my memories, you wouldn't go there or talk about it or even think about it.
What's the matter? Oh, I'm sorry, please.
Apparently, he has his fair share of secrets. What exactly happened to Maxim's previous wife, the mysterious Rebecca of the title? What's in that big secret room Fontaine's been warned away from? And what's up with that creepy beach house full of cobwebs and Rebecca's old things? The lovely Joan Fontaine is great as the fragile and initially naive new bride, who eventually grows stronger and more commanding as she takes on the mantle of the new Mrs. de Winter. Screen and stage icon Sir Laurence Olivier again begins the film as a bit of a dull and quite nervous English gentleman, but begins to brilliantly unravel as the skeletons in his closet threaten to jump out and accuse him of foul play.
I have to ask you a very personal question. Were relations between you and the late Mrs. de Winter perfectly happy? Were relations between you and the late Mrs. de Winter perfectly happy?
I won't stand this any longer, and you might as well know now. My wife, she's sweet.
However, the star of the show is the previously mentioned Mrs. Danvers, the cold, hostile housekeeper who appears to despise Fontaine, mostly because she's taking the place of Olivier's first wife, who Danvers seems to creepily obsess over. The murky details of her possibly accidental death begin to drive the plot of the film. The central emphasis on the dead Rebecca and the investigation of Manderley's forbidden secret rooms, and the fact that Mrs. Danvers seems to pop up out of the darkness like something off a 1940s Conjuring movie, all bring the film as close to a ghost story as a non-supernatural movie can.
It's easy, isn't it? Why don't you? Why don't you? Go on. Go on. Don't be afraid.
In fact, a chilling scene sees Mrs. Danvers showing the second Mrs. de Winter the late Rebecca's perfectly preserved bedroom. The scene begins as an innocent tour and becomes more claustrophobic and sinister. Judith Anderson able to be brilliantly frightening with just an abrupt tone and a deadpan stare.
Do you think the dead come back and watch the living? I don't believe it. Sometimes. I wonder if she doesn't come back here to Manderley. Watch you and Mr. de Winter together.
In retrospect, and with many masterworks that he would go on to create, a lot is made of the fact that Rebecca doesn't bear many of what would become Hitchcock's traits in his future films, which I only partly agree with. There are moments scattered throughout that are undoubtedly Hitchcockian. A point of view walk down a staircase in a disastrous party scene, and a favourite of mine that features a ghostly camera move as Olivier recounts a dark moment from his past.
Suddenly she got up, started to walk toward me.
When I have a child, she said, neither you nor anyone else could ever prove it wasn't yours. You'd like to have an heir, wouldn't you, Max, for your precious Manderley?
As great as it is, it's not without its flaws. Its third act unfortunately meanders into a courtroom drama that's at odds with the Gothic mystery that's just been set up. Once the plot moves away from Manderley House and becomes a blackmail/crime melodrama, it does lose some of its grip. However, there are some surprising, if not a bit rushed, revelations to be had before the grand finale.
You know, boy, I have a strong feeling that before the day is out, somebody's going to make use of that rather expressive, though somewhat old-fashioned term, foul play.
Alfred Hitchcock's first film for an American studio, showing a new audience he was able to take the simplest of premises and make them frightening. Think birds on a climbing frame or taking a quick shower in a motel. Of course, he'd go on to continue to assemble one of cinema's great filmographies, but Rebecca arguably kicked off a golden period that included films such as Lifeboat, Notorious and Spellbound and Rope, and that's just in the 40s. We'll get to all of those films and more in future episodes, but for now, Rebecca, go check it out.
You sent for me, madam?
Yes, Mrs. Danvers. I want you to get rid of all these things.
These are Mrs. de Winter's things.
I am Mrs. de Winter now.